Good evening, welcome, thank you for joining us today. What a lovely day we've put on. As a former Hawke's Bay boy, it was quite nice flying in this morning and on my delayed flight, somewhat like going through a washing machine. Coming over the hills, it brought back memories, looking out over the surf, and I don't have a surfboard with me, which is a bit disappointing, but anyway. My name is David Roberts. I'm the Director of Digital Marketing Services for Yellow, and I'm be your MC tonight. So it's fantastic that we get to be here today. We're very delighted to bring the biz to you, and we've been travelling the country now on our second time round doing the biz series. The first event was held back in 2013, and we had over 2,500 small businesses coming into the same forum across the country. Today, this is I guess a chance for you to hear some really interesting speakers that can provide you with some fresh ideas and perspectives on what you could do to improve your business. The speakers will cover their experiences, the challenges they've faced, and the rewards they have that have followed, both personal and financial. They'll also talk about how technology and the digital landscape is changing and how to use this effectively in your business. There's also the opportunity to network with like-minded businesses. And I really encourage you to take the opportunity, know who you're sitting next to, introduce yourselves and get to know the people around you. You'll find there's a wealth of knowledge here in this room together when you talk about your experiences together. At Yellow, we've had a pretty unique relationship with small businesses for a long time. And we expect to continue that relationship going forward. It's important for us, ourselves, to continue to reinvent our business and to learn from our mistakes and use those learnings to help other small, medium businesses around New Zealand grow their business. For us at Yellow, we've got really no choice but to continue to evolve. And what started as the Yellow Pages, the book that arrives once a year, and that proposition has now grown into a whole range of products. And it allows us to showcase across a huge range of online channels, alongside print, books, ebooks, mobile media, social and apps. You know, we've seen how technology and the digital landscape changes and influences the future of many businesses across the country, and both large, small, and even with some government departments. And the consumer demands have changed significantly, and we need to adapt our businesses accordingly. We're very committed to change, and we're helping you succeed in your business, not just in the area of digital marketing, which is my space. To kick things off tonight, we're very lucky enough to have the Minister for Small Business with us, the Honourable Craig Foss. Welcome. He's joining us from his home constituency, which I guess you all knew that anyway. The Minister has been incredibly supportive of the Biz series, attending quite a few events so far, and we're very appreciative of his support. Thank you. And your support of local business. And it really shows that turning up to these events and continuing to chat with everyone, we think that's just pretty fantastic, really. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Honourable Minister for Small Business, Craig Foss. Please join us.
Thanks for everybody. It's always weird for me to get up here and speak with a ministerial kind of role because I'm just a local, just like you. But first of all, to you small business owners, thanks, quite simply. You're the ones that actually often put your house on the line to help fund a business, to help employ some Kiwis, to help them fund their families. You're the ones that more often than not are a bit concerned about the cash flow. It's pretty obvious to see what's going out over the next few weeks, and sometimes it's hard to see what's coming back in over the next few weeks, and you have to have a chat with the bank manager. You're often the ones that look at the invoices that are coming in and pay yourselves last. Pay yourselves last more often than not. And you're often also the people who treat your employees as almost family, because you're looking out for them, they're looking out for you, everyone does the extra yards because you're trying to grow your business through whatever area you're in. That's pretty cool, and actually you're the bedrock of the New Zealand economy. 97% of all of our businesses are actually small and medium enterprises under 20 employees or less. A third of our GDP, which is about $210 billion, a third of our GDP comes from small and medium enterprises, yourselves. About 598,000, just under 600,000 workers work in businesses just like yours. And in the Bay, our GDP is about 5.5 to go into $6 billion, and we have about 18,000 small and medium enterprises right here, just like yourselves. So that's pretty cool, actually, for you coming here today. And I thank Yellow for putting these seminars on. I've been to a few of them, and actually it's people like yourselves looking at your model, looking at opportunities, looking at challenges, and taking a few tips or a whole lot of tips from some of the speakers here today. And they are really, really good. You will have some really good takeaways, at least from them, maybe not from me. But things, as you know, the landscape's changing so much. So there was a time, particularly if you're in a service industry, the competition was across the road or up the street or just in the next town. Now it can be anywhere else, that competition, anywhere in the globe. If you're selling books, financial services, advisory services, the model is changing so much. So there's a massive challenge and a massive opportunity. The tyranny of distance, i.e. for living in the Bay perhaps, and operating your business from the Bay, whatever that is, actually it's an awesome opportunity to live the dream here and sell your product or services beyond the Bay as well as within the Bay now. But of course the person in Wellington or Auckland also has the same opportunity to penetrate into here. So some of the tools and tips and stories you'll hear today, they are just neat. And there'll be hopefully a few kaplunk moments, which I've certainly had sitting through these seminars around the country. So I guess just again going right back to that start there, at the end of the day, business, the economy, it's simply confidence. That's all it is. It's being confident to talk to the bank manager, to borrow some money, to invest some money in some plant, equipment, or hire one more Kiwi, be it part-time or full-time. That's simple confidence. And those that tend to do well are confident in themselves. They've examined their own model. They've had others look at their own model. Normally you're your worst critics, but actually constantly putting the discipline upon yourselves to stay as lean as you can, grow those margins wherever possible. Attending seminars actually like this, which are quite worthwhile, gaining some tips, actually I'm quite sure will serve yourselves and the Bay very, very well. From some of the things that Yellow will talk to about their directory services, things like that, to the awareness from Google. We've got Microsoft here. We've got my favourite hot dog man who I met the other day. Where's my man? Where's he gone? Look, that guy down the back there. Do that again. Do it again. I can't do it with my fingers. I keep mucking it up. You'll know exactly what I mean later when he comes up. You'll be energised. And hopefully, and I'm sure you'll see yourself in some of that story and some of the other stories and the ability to absolutely grow and thrive your business. So all the very best. Have a lot of fun. Cheers.
Over the other side of the room. It's a long way over there. So thank you very much, Minister. Really interesting perspective you have there in terms of competition coming from anywhere in the globe, and I think that it does cause us to really think about the challenge, but there's a number of smart people, especially from this Bay, who have been thinking about the global opportunity and have that real confidence to go and take up that opportunity. So I think pretty wise words there. Thank you very much. The next speaker I'll introduce, I think you'll really enjoy, and she's got some incredible things to say. Minnie is from Be Accessible, and Minnie is the Chief Executive, and she has an organisation that is a social change agency, capturing the attention of leaders throughout New Zealand and Australia. Today she will talk about considering customers in a new way, the value of the 25% of people who have an access need, and the possibilities within this market. So, Minnie, please come and join us at the stage.
Thank you. Great. Hopefully I'm going for the mobile approach. Can everyone hear okay? I can't talk like that the whole time, it looks a bit odd. Hopefully that's loud enough. Look, thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this amazing event, and lovely to hear you speak, Minister, as well. And I guess, yes, I wanted to put out a slightly different perspective than perhaps one you've considered previously. And I wanted to start by just taking a minute to think about the fact that everyone here is an entrepreneur of some form or other. And it's a word we use a lot, but how often do we stop to think about what it means? Now, one of the definitions that I came across, which I really love, is that an entrepreneur is someone who creates value. You are value creators. And then we think about the word value and what does it mean? We talk about it in business as value add, value propositions. What is the value of that good or service? But the thing that I'm really most deeply interested in are our values as New Zealanders, and as New Zealanders as entrepreneurs. Because at the heart of being a New Zealander, we have incredibly strong social values that I believe are going to be the answer to a lot of our economic challenges. Whenever we travel around the world, it's one of the things we're most highly recognised for and valued for by other people. And David and I were just chatting about this and how he ended up in a sauna in Finland at one point with a prime minister or something. Quite a dodgy story, but worth asking him later. But it was all to do with the fact that as New Zealanders, we're highly trusted individuals. And it's because we come from a country that's not war-torn, where we care about people. And as the minister said, we put people at the heart of our businesses and everything we do. We are also the country that has led the world in terms of social change, and I think we take it for granted that we were the first country in the world to give women the vote. This room is filled with women, as many women as, well actually I can't really see, I'm partially blind, but I think there's as many women as men in this room here today, you know, and you wouldn't get that in every country in the world right now. The fact that we stood for anti-nuclear and we stood up against a very large country called America because it was part of our values. The Green Movement, the Treaty of Waitangi, all these things which are not perfect in and of themselves, but actually are part of our DNA and who we are as New Zealanders and as people running our own businesses throughout New Zealand. So why do I tell you about that? Well, when I was 15, I was diagnosed as partially blind. And it came as a bit of a shock. Well, it sort of did. I went for a driving lesson and nearly crashed. So that part, it was quite good to find out that I was partially blind and not just a really bad driver. But needless to say, that was the end of my driving career at that point. But a really interesting thing happened. All of a sudden, I was told about all the things I could not do. When you're told you're blind, you're told you will not drive, you probably won't have a good job, and probably lower your expectations in life. Now that's a really unfortunate thing to tell anyone, particularly a young 15-year-old. Anyway, thankfully I didn't pay too much attention to that and I just got on with things. Today I have the great privilege of running my own organisation as the CEO, employing, as the Minister said, up to about 10 other people, and all of that's happened in the last 4 years. 4 years ago, I entered an empty office with, and it was an empty office. There wasn't a phone, a table, barely a window, actually. It was more like a cupboard, actually, when I think about it. And, but in 4 years, so much has happened, and it's part of that, and why I think there's a formula in there that might be of value to all of you here today. It is the fact that 25% of us in New Zealand identify as having a disability. People are a bit shocked when I tell them that, and they think, well, how could that be? But it's in the latest census. And that number is only set to increase. Oh, crikey, that wasn't sorry, that wasn't what I meant to do. See, that's what it's like to be blind. You can't see the PowerPoint. And 25% of us, and we have a globally ageing population. By the time we're 65, 50% of us have at least one impairment. So accessibility or disability, depending on how you want to look at it, is potentially the fastest growing market, untapped market in the world. So how could New Zealand and New Zealanders and all of us here today be thinking differently about this market opportunity? What does it mean for us as business owners, as people building economic opportunities within our local communities? Oh gosh, I'm hopeless at this, sorry. I'm not quite sure why I keep doing that. There we go. So what I want us to think about today are our customers and our employees. So if 25% of the population has some kind of access need, that might be someone like myself who's partially blind. And I was at the hotel, I just checked in, lovely hotel, but I had to say about 4 times when they said, just go over there, there's your room over there. I said, well, actually, I can't see over there. And the worst case was when I just got a taxi from across the road to this venue, because I didn't realise it was just across the road. I have to say the taxi driver, Chris, was incredibly nice and didn't charge me. And he said, this is my contribution to the blind community. I said, that's great, because, you know, I'm blind and also a bit silly. So, but how are we thinking about that in terms of our service? When we come into a hotel, do we have to repeat 4 times that we can't see very well? What if that hotel said, in the first moment they heard that and thought, okay, now if this customer can't see very well, what are the sort of things she might need some help with? Perhaps I could just say, look, is there anything I can help you with? It's as simple as that. But so often we don't think about it. And why is this so important? Well, I've told you the stats, but the other thing is, access tourism is one of the greatest opportunities facing us as a nation right now. The access economy is what I'm talking about. Baby boomers are the fastest growing tourist market in the world. They have the highest rates of age-related impairments. By the time we're 65, 50% of us have at least one impairment. Some of you in the room tonight might identify with this. And as we age, we acquire more impairments. As baby boomers, we often travel in groups. So if there's one person who can't have a positive experience at a hotel or at a tourist facility or even going down to the shop just to buy some milk, it's possibly not just one person, but 4 people who are turned away. What if we can turn that around? What if we can start to think about that differently and as a point of value add as part of our value proposition as a business? The access economy is everything that we could generate as a country, as a business, as a region, if we started to think about what we could do differently in this particular space. In Australia, we know that it's nearly $5 billion a year that is spent on access tourism right now, and that number is only set to grow. But do we hear about it in the conversations that we have here in New Zealand right now? Not often. So how can we change that, and how can we be part of this? And it's not necessarily about doing tricky things. It's just starting to awaken to a market segment that perhaps we hadn't thought about before. It's also about thinking who we employ. Do we immediately think that that person who's blind can't be employed because they can't drive? Or maybe they can do things a little bit differently and do things in a way that adds value to our business through a creative way of looking at the world and being in the world. How do we open up our thinking? Because if it is 25% of the population, it will be someone in our communities and our families who's living with an access need. Perhaps that person can actually bring something to our business that enables us to tap into this growing market because they understand what this market needs. So what do we do at B? We don't just talk about this space. We do actually run programs to help businesses. Because one of the things I identified was that businesses and New Zealanders generally, they want to do the right thing. They want to do the right thing by their families, by their communities, and by people around them, but don't necessarily know where to begin. So we developed a program called Be Welcome. Really simple. How do we create environments and spaces and places where everyone feels welcome, no matter who you are? And I think that is about as fundamentally Kiwi as we can get. We generally want everyone to feel welcome in our businesses. If people feel welcome, they come back. It's quite simple. Gorgeous young guy I know called Red in Auckland who has cerebral palsy. He also happens to be a dad and an amazing teacher. And he said there's these 2 cafes. One which is beautifully wheelchair accessible in terms of the design of the building, but he gets inside and he does not feel welcome. Next door is an old cafe that is not perfectly designed in terms of, accessibility from a wheelchair perspective, but the staff adore him. Now, where do you think he spends his money as a teacher that he earns every week? In the second one, because he feels welcome. And he pops next door to the first one if he needs the loo. Now, in an ideal world, you combine both those factors, but it just goes to show that this is an area that we need to give more thought to. And fortunately, hundreds and hundreds of businesses across New Zealand are working with us to do exactly that. And our greatest joy comes from working with businesses to help you unpack what the opportunity might be for you and your business and your particular area of expertise. We have a rating system. So we help you understand how you're doing. Where are you on this accessibility journey? How are you thinking about the diversity of your customers? And not just people with disability, but parents with children, an ageing population, people for whom English is a second language. We all have access needs of different forms, and it just depends where we are in our life cycle at that particular moment in time. But imagine if New Zealand could be known as the place where everyone feels incredibly welcome when they come to our shores and spend time here. We have a beautiful little proposition called Be Light as a little taster if you want to check it out and get a feel for what this bee world is all about. And it gives you a bit of an idea of how you can start to think about accessibility as it relates to your business right now. So essentially that's us from B. There's a lot more I could share with you, and but I won't because there are other speakers. But there is a quick video that I thought I'd just like to share with you. There's a hotel chain called the Sedema. They don't currently have a hotel here, but they have a chain across New Zealand, and it's the first chain to ensure that all of their hotels have been assessed. And the reason they're doing this is they see it as such an important part of their value proposition and their point of competitive advantage in a very competitive market. So over to the Sedema. Hopefully that'll just go.
Accessibility is making everyone's stay the most enjoyable and the most memorable it can be.
Being accessible is incredibly important for a hotel. It just means that we're attractive to a wider range of people.
Sedema Auckland Airport Hotel was a 4.5-star hotel. We facilitate accommodation for corporate and travelling guests, so we see a lot of people from overseas. Being accessible is hugely important. We need to actually cater for everyone's requirement, whatever their need.
The Be Welcome assessment's been incredibly valuable. We sat down and reviewed the audit, looked at our strengths and weaknesses, and we've needed to prioritise those things and just work out what's important to us. And a lot of them are simple ideas. They don't necessarily need to be large investments. It just needs to be a commitment of energy.
Some of the accessible features at Sedema Auckland Airport Hotel actually start as soon as you arrive in the car park. We have a ramp up to the main entrance. We have a lower check-in counter. Our lifts all have tactile numbers, and we have 7 accessible rooms with adjoining rooms for family or carers.
You also have access to public toilets, conferencing, restaurants and bars, all on one single level, and they're great big wide bright open spaces, so I think they provide great accessibility.
Be Accessible have actually started us on a journey. We are setting up a new website so that our accessible customer has an easy process to follow from booking stages right through to arriving at Sedema Auckland Airport. We have got menus being printed in Braille. We're looking at our internal signage. It's an ongoing plan to get us to gold.
I think creating an accessible hotel opens up all sorts of opportunities for us business-wise. We need to compete against many other destinations in the world, so if we can pick up a simple goal like being more accessible, then that's going to make us more competitive.
I think the accessible approach to business is imperative for New Zealand. We need to be attracting international guests on a bigger scale. Being accessible and being able to communicate our accessibility can only be good for our country.
So thank you. If any questions, I'll be around later as well. So thank you very much. Thanks.
There's a couple of really interesting takeouts for me out of that, and I think there's certainly to think more broadly where I can get staff from, and I think the other aspect for me is around the access economy. What might this mean for our business and for the businesses we work with, and certainly I quite like your challenge around how do we open up our thinking. That was really nice. So look, thank you very much, Minnie. Yeah, as Minnie said, we'll be actually running a Q&A session towards the end of the session, and so save up all those questions now, write them down now, so that when we get going we can fire straight into it. But now I've got the great pleasure of introducing one of our own. Garda is our digital marketing manager, and she's quite the guru on all things marketing, and she is a former small business owner, a busy mum of 2, and from Canada to New York, she's very much been using her experience her global experience really to talk to you today about what to do and what not to do, what social channels to use and which ones to dump. So Please welcome to the stage Garda.
Okay. Right, good afternoon. Today I'm going to be talking about being relevant on social networks. I think it's probably a really important thing to kind of cover off. A lot of people, when you decide that you want to be on social networks, you're not really sure how to get started. So this is, a quick sort of introduction to what you can do to be relevant on social networks. Just to give you a little bit of an overview about myself, as Dave mentioned, I did start out as a small business owner for 8 years in Christchurch with my husband, and at that time I became a little bit more of a self-taught marketer. We were creating websites and different applications for different devices, from the PSP to mobile phones as well. And then as the family grew, I decided to go freelance, working on social media strategy and digital strategy. I also worked at the Blind Foundation, where I had the pleasure of just crossing paths with Minnie when she was starting out with Be Accessible. So it's really lovely to hear her story, and I agree with all the points that were mentioned around the access economy. So that was great. So now that I am the digital marketing manager at Yellow, I bring that experience from working in New Zealand beforehand and working across in New York. And with small business, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned from those mistakes, and hopefully what I can bring tonight, you can learn a little bit as well. So, one of the first things when you decide that you want to be on social media, a lot of people think that you have to be everywhere. And truly, you really don't have to be. Some digital strategists will tell you that you need to be Instagramming and pinning and Facebooking and doing everything. But I believe that if you really want a good, deeper relationship with your clients, then you really need to focus your attention to just one or two networks. It really is not to your advantage to be everywhere. You won't be able to kind of get the goals, the successes that you want out of being in social media. You won't be able to build your sales, build more awareness if you're sort of spreading yourself thin. I know some of the presenters later on are going to kind of take you through how they use social media and how they focus on just a few different platforms. So not all networks are created equally. If you start by choosing just the one or two, a good way to do that is to look at what your competitors are doing, seeing where they are, because obviously wherever they are, they're stealing your customers, so you need to be there as well. Look at what they're doing, think about how you can do it differently, think about bringing your point of difference across to whatever you're doing in social media. Even if your product is not heavily graphical, the rate of growth of visual networks like Instagram and Pinterest and even Snapchat is really staggering, so it's worth having a look at those networks. Instagram, for instance, has 300 million active monthly users, and its location tagging capabilities and its new ad services as well really makes this something that opens up a lot of opportunities for location-based campaigns. Pinterest has a 68% female base, and the average time spent on Pinterest is about 14 minutes. And the dark horse rising up on the social networks is Snapchat, with roughly 100 million monthly active users worldwide. But you have to keep in mind that also, though this is growing rapidly, about 70% of its users are 25 years or younger. YouTube, of course, is also a force to be reckoned with. Video, video is everywhere. We're seeing it a lot more in our newsfeed and Facebook. If you've got a smartphone and an email address, you can create a video on the fly. You could be standing out there catching family about to get washed away by the waves, and suddenly you can go viral. They're not going to get washed away, but I'm watching them. I'm having a hard time paying attention because there's a little girl out there. It's looking a little precarious. And then, of course, there's Facebook, which is probably the most well-known network worldwide with over 1.39 billion active monthly users. But the Facebook population is aging. It's not where your children go anymore as such. But it's a good thing if you're trying to target that 35 to 54 age group. So it's important as well to have a plan of attack before you go into social. It's 24/7, and once you get going, you have to be consistent. And even though you've got a plan, you also have to plan for the fact that the plan can change. Don't be afraid to veer off path if it makes sense, and if you can make sure that it ladders up to your larger goal. I can't stress enough how much competitor analysis is also really important in the digital space. Again, if you're not where your competitors are, they're just going to take your clients. So think about what you're trying to achieve. Social's not, you know, on the front, it looks like it's about the amount of likes you have, the amount of followers, fans. It's not about that. It could be about building your email list. It could be about driving traffic to your site. It could be about growing your brand message, growing awareness, getting people talking about you. So you need to outline what those success measures are, or else you're not going to know what you're really trying to achieve with social. And then, of course, with this quote, you don't build it for yourself. You know what the people want, and you build it for them. So it's really important to give the people what they want. 70% of internet users also use social media on a regular basis. Millions of pieces of content are created every day. So that alone is a reason to really prioritize your digital marketing, prioritize your social. So you need to stand out from the crowd and craft fantastic content. And when I say fantastic, I don't mean heavily polished content. I just mean, again, that it has to be relevant. It doesn't have to be over the top, but you want to be creating two-way conversations as well. And you don't want to just talk to your audience. You want to listen. Social is a really good place to listen, to get feedback from people, see the trends that are emerging, what people like, what they don't like, what you're posting. And the magic really happens when you're talking with your ears, so when you're really listening. So video, I think it's, you know, a big enough sort of medium that I want to talk a little bit more about it. It's a really great way to tell your message. So a couple of video stats for you. 100 million, that's the number of internet users who watch online video each day. Now, a lot of those videos are laughing babies and cats and families of cats and cats shaped like hearts and lots of crazy stuff. But really, you can think about doing things differently by using video. You can change your FAQs into video. You can be responding monthly through video. And again, as I said, if you've got a smartphone, how many people in the room have a smartphone? Just about all of you. So if you've got a smartphone and email address, it's really easy to do a video, upload it to YouTube, upload it directly to Facebook, and you know, it's video. I'll tell you how many words a video is worth a little bit later on, but it has a really great impact, and it also humanizes your brand. So 64%, that's how much more likely website visitors are to buy a product from an online site after watching a video. So you can consider using your video to demo a product or to introduce a new product. And just a quick snippet on Facebook to drive traffic back to your site for people to find out more about a product. That's a great way to use video as well. 403%, an Australian real estate group reports that real estate listings with video receive 403% more inquiries than those without videos. So in other words, real estate ads with videos generate 4 times the amount of leads than those without video. So again, it's just by being able to bring the listing to life a little bit more than just photos or just words. 59%, according to Forbes Insight, that's the percentage of senior executives who'd rather watch a video than read text. Everybody's too busy to do anything nowadays. So if you can put a short video together for something important, you might have yourself a winner. And then this stat is astounding to me, 1.8 million words. That's the value of 1 minute of video, according to Forrester Research. 1.8 million words is equivalent to 1 minute of video. So you have to ask yourself if you have the time and energy to write 1.8 million words, because that's the equivalent of 3,600 typical web pages. And if you write an average of 1 page an hour, it would take you 150 days of writing to achieve an impact of 1 minute of video. So I'll set that challenge to all of you to try and see how you can get video into your business. So next up. So a lot of the videos that are having the most impact nowadays on Facebook, in YouTube pre-roll, they are that between 15, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And some of the most shared videos of 2014 are in that 15 to 30 second time span. So here's an idea of, this is just an example of one of the most shared videos of 2014. so that one was the silly baby variety. But there are a lot of videos, a lot of, if you look on YouTube in the industry that you are in to get some ideas of what people are doing. I've spoken to people at other biz events, kind of just helping them through some ideas, anything from a cake decorator, showing just a small idea of what you could do to decorate a cake, and that kind of drives people back to the website to see what else they can learn on the site. Or fitness videos are a big one at the moment, just quick 15-minute exercise videos, and just kind of growing your following that way with video. And I guess, why do these videos get shared? There's sites like Upworthy.com and BuzzFeed that do this really well. They share videos that really evoke strong emotions. They make you laugh, cry, scream. They make you want to take some sort of action. They also inspire or educate, like some of the ideas that I said before about the cake decorating, that sort of thing. So don't just have a point of view, but you have to be relevant. And a way that you can do that is, don't be afraid to interact with other complementary brands. So it's not just about talking to your fan base or your community, but it's also interacting with other brands that bring value to your clients. So whatever industry you're in, it's about talking about that entire industry. If you're in the car industry, you want to show your fans that you understand that entire industry. It's not just a sales pitch about what your car business can do, but rather just showcasing that you're an authority on the entire industry. So make your social interactions all about your customers and not about you. All right, so here are a few examples of things that you can do to be more relevant. I start with a local example from Countdown Supermarkets. During the Chinese New Year, they posted recipes related to, obviously, the Chinese New Year, which makes sense for Countdown, hoping that you'll go in, buy the food, make the recipe. Makes sense? So rather than just saying Happy Chinese New Year, and it's not relevant to people who are there looking for ideas, food-related ideas make sense for Countdown, or some sort of information about food, buying food. So this to me is relevant, makes sense. And it's simple. This is an example from ASB. Again, during the Chinese New Year, there was the Auckland Lantern Festival that ASB was a sponsor of. So they had, this post here was incentivize, which never hurts. They were giving away money. ASB, they're a bank, so it's money. And they were giving away $888, which is a sign of good fortune. So, just a couple of little things to make it relevant to the people that are going on your page. Just because you want to be a part of whatever's going on, you still need to make it relevant. An international example from 2013 was this Oreo tweet. I don't know if you remember during the Super Bowl in 2013, the lights just went out unexpectedly, and everybody kind of took to Twitter to go what's going on? And within an instant, Oreo really owned the conversation on this one. They just devised this. They had a really flexible team that was able to devise this in just a couple of minutes. And they had 20,000 shares across Facebook and Twitter, and 525 million earned media impressions. And that is 5 times the amount of people that actually tuned into the Super Bowl. And that was just by being quick. So relevancy as well as being agile, moving with what's happening. The most recent example is our lovely X Factor judges. People got on social media, talked about that. But the brands that were brands or people who were relevant to the conversation, who didn't get in on bullying themselves, people interacted with that. So it's not just about jumping on whatever's happening, but actually making it relevant to your audience. Beating out the Oreo tweet last year was this fun little tweet from KitKat. So they wanted to get in on the Bendgate when the iPhone 6 Plus came out and people found that it could bend and everyone was posting photos. KitKat felt like there was kind of a synergy there with their have a break, have a KitKat slogan. So it's been said that it took them about 30 minutes to come up with this tweet. And within days, it was retweeted 23,000 times and lifted the brand's following by a few thousand. So again, if you are just posting stuff for the sake of it, for fear of missing out, your most loyal fans will often let you know that you're in the wrong or it's not relevant to them. So, but if you can join the conversation, these are simple ways that you can do it, simple examples. And some simple examples of what not to do. Hashtag hijacking. So hashtags trend on Twitter. People want to be a part of them. Again, the NZ New Zealand X Factor thing is pretty relevant because it's just happening, so people want to get in on the conversation. But what you have to be careful not to do is to not do your research and understand what a hashtag means. So in this example, the hashtag was Why I Stayed, which was a really powerful campaign about domestic violence. And so men and women were sharing stories around why they stayed in an abusive relationship. And this not so well-informed pizza company decided that they'd just get in and say something, I stayed because I had pizza, which had nothing at all to do with the campaign. And they had quite bad backlash over this. People were like, they came across seeming really insensitive. And really, they were just not well informed. So it's important, if you are starting out on Twitter and you think a good way to get in on conversations is to look at trending topics, to actually do your research. Another example of what not to do is to have a hashtag fail. We have Susan Boyle here, who was a winner from UK's Got Talent a couple of years ago, and her PR company decided to do a bit of a launch party on Twitter, and they had a hashtag and posting images and stuff. But they, no one kind of thought through the hashtag, and they didn't think it through. So this is the problem we have here with the hashtag Susan Album Party can also be read this way. So that's just a reminder that, if you are, even the big agencies, the big PR companies, they get it wrong. So if you're trying it on your own, just make sure that you have consultants and people that you can kind of vet things through and bounce ideas off of, because, everyone gets it wrong. So that was a big fail. So if you're interested in starting now, here are some, just to round everything up, some ideas. Some things that I've said before is just remember to check out your competitors. It's not about being like them, but it's about understanding where they are, understanding what they do, because you really do need to be aware of what's happening around you, be aware of who's in the market, what your competitors are, how they're tracking what they're doing. Set success measures from the outset, because you're never going to really know if you're achieving what you want to achieve if you don't have those success measures. As I said, is it about building an email list? Is it about finding people to work with? Is it about driving traffic back to your site? Just set those measures so you know. And then this one's really quite, it speaks for itself. Be human. All your conversations online, act the same way that you would face-to-face. And give people the honor of, replying to them, having conversation with them. And for social to really work, you have to have that as part of your company culture. Even if you're just 3 people in the business, 4 or 5 people, it has to be part of your culture. Everybody needs to be involved. You need to get people involved. Figure out how people want to be involved. Is it the video? Is it being part of Twitter? Is it being, there's many different ways that you can get people involved. And then get help. I know from experience as well that it's really tempting to just do everything yourself, but at some point you kind of do have to release the reins and get people involved. Some of the people that are talking today, like Microsoft and Google and Yellow, we're really good at consulting and helping people. We can help you shape visions and strategies that you have, so just make sure to get help and just be able to recognize when you need that help. So yeah, get in touch. A couple of things I wanted to say as well is we do have a hashtag for today, which is #TheBiz. So you can send pictures, photos, comments, whatever through that if you are on Twitter. I am at ohmygada. You can always tweet me. And if you have any questions about any of our directory, anything on our directory, so yellow.co.nz, where we've got thousands of reviews of different businesses, listings with images, videos, lots of different listings, you can always tweet Yellow, which is YellowNZ, or use the hashtag #AskYellow to ask us any questions. So thank you. Look forward to seeing you guys afterwards. Thanks.
Thanks again. Always get something interesting out of that, and the one thing that always surprises me, and I've heard now, I think it's the second time I've heard you speak, it's 1.8 million words for 1-minute video. It's quite astonishing. Social can definitely be a complex environment, and I think you got some pretty good tips today in terms of how to approach it, and I think very much the challenge is to keep it simple and relevant. And also to really look at standing out from the crowd and be unique in what you do. I think there's some great value there. Garda will be joining us towards the end, and I'm sure you'll all have some good questions for her. It also, at the very end, we'll be doing a few drinks and networking, and our speakers will all be around, so please do grab them afterwards and ask them all those tricky questions. Maybe share some of your own stories as well, and I'm sure we'd love to hear those. Our next speaker, Reece. Reece is the Managing Director of a Kiwi company, iTicket. This is a bit of a David and Goliath story, taking on the big guys, and he's having some pretty remarkable success. Reece has been spending a lot of time working out how to innovate on his products and build a really great customer experience, and because of that, he's seen his revenue grow over 80% in the last 2 years. So Reece, please come and join us, and he'll be talking to us a bit about his experiences in his business and his journey. So, Reece.
Hi everyone, great to be here today. The story of iTicket starts just over 10 years ago actually, and it seems like yesterday when we had this little idea, and really just came down to hard work and perseverance in the end, and getting the job done in a ticketing industry in New Zealand that was full of the heavyweights, and competition was huge. We had no idea of that at the time when we started. I think if we had have known those things, we probably wouldn't have started. But it was a great thing to get into. I'd previously been part of other businesses, so I'd learned a few things along the way. I credit much of how the business operates today from a rural upbringing actually, and it's just a get the job done, number 8 wire approach. And our office has a running commentary on me. If something's broken in the office, I'm the first one to go for the cordless drill, and it's often called a Preston Special when they see that coming out, which is a bit of a worry sometimes. So the journey's had its ups and downs, lots of challenges, lots of late nights, the typical things you'd expect from a small startup business when we got going. But it's all been a learning experience along the way, and it's about learning from things, tweaking, adjusting, moving on, learning, tweaking, adjusting, moving on. So, from cows to computers. So just a quick background on me. So I grew up on a dairy farm in Northland, population whopping 500. So suffice to say there wasn't a lot of scope for industry up there other than being a dairy farmer or a kurma grower, both things of which required early morning starts, which I wasn't into. So after I finished school, I left home and moved to the big city of Auckland, which was a massive change for me. It took a good couple of years to get used to the whole concept of Auckland, going from a small town of 500. I did a degree in computing systems, although at that point I knew still not what I was wanting to do. I didn't have really a specific career in mind other than probably not farming. And ended up being the subject I hated the most, which was programming, was the one I got the best marks in, and that's just the track that I ended up going down. From that I got a job as a junior programmer, spent 18 months in my first job, and at the age of 22 had burnout number 1. And I decided I could do it myself. There was nothing to lose at that point, so I started a little web development company. Spent 5 years doing that, going through the ringer, learning a few more lessons there, and after about 5 years, got to about 27 at this point, and hit burnout number 2. There was just too many things going round and round in circles and redoing things, and I was being too soft with clients and letting them get away with too much. So at this point, dairy farming was looking pretty attractive to me, and maybe the early morning starts, well, maybe they were going to be okay. But there was always a backup to head to, which was okay. So meanwhile, during all of this, my girlfriend had introduced me to the world of amateur theatre of all things. When I first moved to Auckland, it was a bit of a bizarre thing. I could sing a bit and dance a bit, although I was what you call a back row dancer, so i.e. not very good. And stress relief came in the form of learning how to tap dance for a show, which scared the living daylights out of me. But I did that for a little theatre in Auckland called the Harlequin Theatre. And it was there that this idea was born. Being on stage, I got to see how the front of house worked, let's say, and there was no options really for the smaller guys, the small theatres in Auckland or around the country at this point to put their ticketing online. It still was shoebox ticketing at that point. So I thought, what I needed an idea. What could I do to combine computer programming and musical theatre? I know, let's start an online ticketing company. How hard could it be? Build it once, sit back and watch the money pour in. That was the initial thought. That wasn't necessarily to be. So touching on a few key points along the way, it really was going off the smell of an oily rag. We put, and this is myself and a friend got together, so we're 50-50 in the company. We put $500 in each, and that was it. Half of that money we spent on buying a second-hand ticket printer off Trade Me, and that was a massive purchase for us, and we spent every cent of what was left like it was gold dust. There was nothing that we spent money on if we didn't absolutely have to, and I think that came from a farming background as well. You couldn't just go up the road and get something. You had to make do with what you had. So we spent 6 months listening, talking to people, planning, getting the ducks lined up, so to speak. We still had day jobs at this point, still had to put food on the table, so we spent every evening, every weekend for a year creating our software. And the hype of what it was to be a startup these days didn't seem to exist back then, so it really was on our own getting up and running. We had no sense of who we were up against in terms of the big guys out there. We were literally just giving it a whirl. It wasn't too much to lose, $1,000 on the table, give it a crack, see what happens. But it did seem unbelievable to us that there was this entire market being overlooked for small to medium theatres around the country. There was 10 to 20 times more of them than there were the large professional theatres, and no one was looking after them in our eyes. So we set to work, we stayed under the radar, quietly going about our business, and we just cracked on. So one of the things I'd learnt along the way in previous businesses was start as you mean to go on, and it was just about getting the foundations right, which is why we spent so much time listening and hearing people, what did this software product have to be. So we feel we got that right. And in 2005, we launched our system. We got our first client on board. It was a little 238-seat theatre out in West Auckland. Had 2-week seasons, 4 shows a year, and it sort of became apparent that it was a numbers game. So the first year was an absolute boomer for us. We made $500, and that was off the back of selling around $5,000 worth of theatre tickets. So we paid the printer back that we bought off Trade Me. So that was a step number 1, I guess. At this point, we knew we were going in the right direction. Not quite sure which direction, but it was generally the right way. We were keen and eager, relative novices still in the world of business, but we cracked on. We hired our first employee about 2 years in, which is our marketing manager, who these days is my wife, but in those days she wasn't. And they say you don't know someone until you live with them. Try working with them. It was challenging times and good times. There were heated discussions, robust debates, but there was no off time. So in the midst of all of that, we thought, what better thing could we do with yet no time left in the day? Let's start a family, chuck that into the mix as well. So Vanessa, my wife, left to be a mum, and I've asked her many times over the years, do you want to come back? Do you want to come back? No, not coming back ever. So it was really onwards and upwards from there. We couldn't compete with the big guys at an international level in our eyes, so we just quietly set about doing our business. We took clients from them as contracts expired. Those clients are still with us today. Half the time I don't even think they realised what we're up to. So it was just about providing a really great service and sticking to it. It seemed like clients were being taken for granted and they weren't being looked after. And we looked after them like they were the only client we had, and that seemed to count for something, so it was really important. And as we've grown over the years, we've learnt that it's really hard to stop and go back and fix things, so it was about getting it right in the beginning and then moving forward from there. Persistence wins eventually. So the power of persistence has been our making in a lot of ways. And as a small example, we kicked off with building the product and building our little business with theatre in mind, but we needed to branch out, we needed to get into other sorts of events, so we thought festivals would be a good market there, and there's one in the Waikato called Parachute Music Festival, which has changed descriptions these days, but just to give you a quick background, big music festival at the time, around about 30,000 people attended, outdoors. They'd been with their incumbent ticketing provider for years, huge brand, one that we knew if we got it would mean things for us. So we persisted with them. They had a hard time being convinced that a little small Kiwi ticketing company was up to the job. They had some complex ticketing requirements, nothing that we knew we couldn't do, so the number 8 wire approach came in handy there. We persisted, we never gave up. It took 3 years to get that client, and eventually they came on board, and it was like the floodgates had opened at that point, and we never looked back from there, and we had 10, 20, 30 festivals come on board after they saw Parachute Festival working with us. It was quite amazing. And that just gets boiled down to, if it works for them, it must be okay. So for us it meant, getting some challenger brands like Parachute in this example, do a brilliant job for them if that's where you're branching out, and it was for us. Do a brilliant job, let them be your ambassadors, and they did for us. Some people call that strategy. In our case, we just really wanted them as a client, and it paid off. So over the next 4 years or so, the company doubled in size every year, and we had a hard time keeping up with it all, actually. But it was that, in this case anyway, that one particular client that we brought on board that meant a whole bunch of other clients in that same genre came on board as well. So it was pretty amazing. So what are the key things we do that we think make us pretty darn good, that we kind of live by? Customer love, and it's nothing dodgy. So one thing we could compete on, and easily, was what we call customer love, and we've recently tagged ourselves as being New Zealand's most loved ticketing company. And we get people from time to time asking, well, how can you say that? Ticketing companies generally are not liked. They charge booking fees, they're difficult, they're faceless, they take your money, and we didn't want to be about that. So we want to be loved, and we know this because our clients, for some reason, well, I know the reason, they love us. We turn up to committee meetings for a cup of tea. It's like a reunion of friends when we go to meetings, and when we're at industry events, we're welcomed with open arms. So there was something that we were doing, just being ourselves, and that was working for us. We're constantly getting compliment emails through about how wonderful our staff are, and what we were aiming for was to get people to champion us and want us to succeed, and that's the best sales channel we could ever wish for, is getting other people to tell other people that we're the ones to go for. So it's all about helping customers, like there's no tomorrow. It's pretty simple, but it's amazing how many times it gets forgotten out there. And it's, like I mentioned, it's like a sales channel at the end of the day, and you never know who you might be helping, fixing a problem that turns out to refer you a new client or get you some new business. We often tell our crew that, talk to everybody like they're a reporter from the Herald going to do a horrible article on you tomorrow, and think about what you're going to say. And it really just clicks people's minds over to, okay, we've got to be really helpful all of the time, every time. So how do we do that in our business? It's about creating a culture of helpfulness within the business and letting that be the norm. So giving support some personality. For us, that means just doing a little bit more. It might be helping a customer where to choose their seats. Is row E better than row F at Harlequin Theatre? Yes, it is. There's a bit more leg room, so helping them out. Might be changing a booking. It might be suggesting somewhere local to go to dinner if we know those sorts of things. Where to park. It's too easy to be brief, and often it's just that little bit extra that makes a difference. Our challenge is always to turn a grumpy customer, and they do exist from time to time, into a happy one. And the challenge is to surprise them with being helpful, and they don't expect it, and they expect you to be grumpy in return with them. And when we're not that way, and we're there, and we actually solve their problem, they're sort of a bit confused about it all, but they end up feeling happy and best mates sort of thing at the end of the phone conversation. So it's one of our goals. Respond quickly. Another really, really simple one. We win a lot of our business by simply being the first people to reply to customer queries online. There's so many times I inquire about a product or a supplier or something online, external, to our business, and you wait sort of 4 days, for a reply. We're in touch with someone within 20 minutes, and we often hear that they never hear back from the competitors for a long time, if at all. So often it's just about responding quickly, simple little things. Doing what you say you're going to do. Again, if it's calling a customer back in half an hour, call them back in half an hour. Again, so many times I call people and get that line and never hear back from them, or it's 3 days later. Even if there's nothing to update them on, we call them back in half an hour and say, there's nothing to update you on. We'll call you back in another half an hour if there's something to update you on. It's little things like that, and they appreciate it. And finally, it's just replying as humans and giving your brand some personality. An example recently, I wanted some building products for home, external to iTicket completely, but I knew the company I was going to was really good company, really great products, but the person I ended up getting in front of was absolutely hopeless. So she was letting their whole company down, that one person, because she wouldn't reply to our emails and wouldn't basically give me a quote for these products I was wanting. So at the end of the day, it's make sure your frontline is reporting, and that's what we try really, really hard to do, to make sure everybody who's in front of our customers is representing us. Which then leads into people maketh or breaketh the business. So how do we create customer love? It's about passion. And some days that's hard. Most of the time, it's when you've got a great team, you've got a great product, hopefully that's pretty easy. I was listening to a speaker the other day, and they made a good comment, and that was, mediocre people don't make amazing businesses. Amazing people make amazing businesses, and you can't not have those things lining up properly. So it's all about your team, treating them well, be flexible with them, and looking after them. At the end of the day, you've still got to be their boss, but it doesn't stop us as owners of the company and having this amazing team looking after them, being human. And often it's little things that make a difference. We bought a little coffee machine a few years ago, and everybody was over the moon. They were buzzing for weeks because they didn't have to go down the road and buy it themselves. For us, it just meant more time in the office, and it only took 3 minutes to make a coffee rather than 15 to go and buy one. But, they loved it, so it was great. New chairs, footrests, spongy ear pads for people who are on the phone, just little things that make a difference. We've done those over the years, and the team love it. One thing we're really proud of is our staff retention, and our team for the most part have been with us for years and years and years and years, and for a tech company that's a pretty good achievement, I think. But they buy into our vision. We share our numbers with them as a company. They know how well we're doing on a monthly basis. They know what it costs to run the place, and they respect what the business is doing, and they've bought into it. So they know what's involved there. Hiring better people than ourselves. I'm a programmer by trade, and we have developers on the team now. I have no idea what they're doing, and I'm quite happy with that. Having brilliant people around you is key. We have an office bell when we get new clients, so that's there to be rung. It's like a modern gong, and it's just another little thing that gets people involved in the office. And from time to time, and we've done it over the years, if the person's not right, it's move them on or hide at the end of the day. You've got to do it properly, of course, but you learn from the mistakes. You have to have the best people in your business to have that amazing business. Your brand is special, and that's something we've worked tirelessly to do, creating and maintaining our brand since day dot, really. it's a bit of a fluffy thing, and you hear it all the time, brand, brand, brand. But at the end of the day, all it is about personality. And for us, it's just about being Kiwi. We're a Kiwi ticketing company. We're cheeky, we're fresh, we're innovative. We're here to help at the end of the day. And it's about creating that vision of who we are out there in the big wide world. And for 10 years, we've just been consistent with that. So when we had one customer or one client, and when we have 2,000 clients, it's the same. Nothing has changed. It gets harder when you grow bigger, but we've stuck strong there. And we have clients that have a deep love for us, and appropriately so sometimes. But that's what we're after, you know, and they're the ones that are often busting a gut to go and recommend us to other promoters and other clients in our industry. We don't really have to do much of a sales job, you know, they're doing it for us. So that's a great thing to have that love, that customer love, and that connection to brand. And on top of all of that, we don't advertise. We don't do a drop of advertising. So it's all about word of mouth and all of the events and all of the clients we work with. Key to what we do, though, is innovation. And we learnt pretty early on that if you're standing still, you're going backwards. Simple as that. So the do it once, watch the money roll in thing never happened. We're still not done 10 years on. We thought we would be, but we're not. Our to-do list now is bigger than it's ever been. It just so happens we're doing the one thing really, really well instead of trying to be a one-arm paper hanger and trying to diversify into all sorts of different markets. You know, we're sticking to what we know, and we're doing it really well. And the example there is, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, we thought we'd finished our platform. The software was done. Yay, we're finished. So we stopped for a year. And moved on, and we were then 2 years behind, and it's really, really, really hard to catch up in technology space when you become that far behind and you don't realize it. One of the things that was key for us was getting some help from our friends from Microsoft here in Auckland, and as a huge international company, Microsoft got behind us, helping us get into the cloud when that was in its infancy about 3 years ago, which meant for us we could scale. So no longer did we have to go and spend $25 million on a data center to do the 9 a.m. on-sale peak. We just re-architected our system, rethought things, thought outside the box, and got into the cloud with the help of Microsoft, and we're away. And we do that for about, you know, hundreds of dollars a month. We didn't need to spend a dime on any hardware whatsoever to make the system run. So it's just an innovative way of getting out there and doing big things as a small or medium business. Overall, our development is led by putting ourselves in the customer's shoes. So we always ask, what would a great experience look like for a customer? You know, there's no point us making it up. You know, what does it mean to have a good experience when you're buying a ticket? So we're often asking our customers, asking our clients, what does that look like for you? And it's often a wood for the tree scenario where you can't see the obvious, and sometimes you just have to think outside the box, be brave, take some leaps in terms of design decisions or taking a product a certain way, and give it a whirl. So where are we today? 10 and a bit years on. It's our little line in the office, taking over the world one ticket at a time, and that's literally what we're doing. So, you know, bite-sized chunks. So from that first year, remembering back, we sold about $5,000 in ticket sales with $500 put on the table between us, or each. We now put through $20 million in ticket sales on an annual basis, and we often forget we've gone from there to here, and it's a pretty cool feeling sometimes. As a real life example, there's a big comic festival in Auckland called Armageddon, and attracts about 70,000 customers over 2 or 3 days, and it's quite remarkable to just stand back and breathe in for a few minutes and look at those 70,000 people and say they all came through us, and no dramas. So it's a pretty cool feeling there. We launched in Australia 3 years ago off the back of some Kiwi clients bugging us to go over there, and that was no mean feat. Australia's difficult to get into from a compliance point of view, but a colleague there once told me to be successful in Australia, you need to be averagely good and do whatever you're doing averagely quickly, and you're ahead of the competition. So I thought it was quite odd. So when we turned up to do this event over in Australia in Melbourne, we applied our NZ concept of doing business, being efficient and being quick and being nimble, and they nearly wet their pants. They just couldn't understand how we could be so good. So it was quite an interesting little learning getting into Australia over there. We have a team of 12 now, so by all means not a massive company, but we leverage technology to our advantage. We have great people doing exactly what they need to be doing, and we've worked with over 2,000 promoters and clients and venues and theatres right the way across the country. The most recently here at the Art Deco Festival in Napier. We worked with them for a few years now, and amazing people to work with, amazing events to be working with, so it's such a range of people we get to mix with on a daily basis. So, to compile all of that into a few top things we live by as a company. Number one is being nice. That's often translated from other companies who flip it on the other way and say, don't be a dick. It's easy to kind of be brief with people and get grumpy, but at the end of the day, it's about being nice. Be nice to your staff, be nice to your clients, and they'll love you for it. Use common sense. That's what we've done since day dot. No point making things complicated. Think about the easy way, well, not necessarily the easy way, but the common sense way to do it. That number 8 wire approach again, we still utilise that today. Do it once, do it right. There's no point backtracking and completely reinventing the wheel. Learn from experience to do that. Put something in place, adjust, tweak. Learn from our mistakes. Again, it's just being about being honest. We've made mistakes over the years. We own up to those things. We make it right. Our clients actually like us for that. There's no point hiding anything there. And lastly, just about being awesome at what we do in every way, whether that's the website we build, how we talk to our customers over the phone on a daily basis, whatever it is, just be awesome at whatever area that is. And top things I live by as a business owner, and this is something I heard only last week actually from the general manager of Xero, is go where you're suited. And spend 100% of your time on 80% of the best business. There's that 20% you could probably do without. You all know those clients. Maybe it's time to maybe not be working with those clients, and stick to where you're being the most effective. Leveraging great people, so great teams, leveraging great technology. Use that to your advantage. You don't need huge teams these days to be functioning as a larger looking business. Using things like Xero for accounting, Vend for point of sale, Timely for time management, iPayroll for payroll. You can group a whole bunch of things together and be really effective there. Leverage other people's experience. So one thing I do on a monthly basis is go to a business networking seminar with a whole lot of other business owners, and really it could just be called business therapy. It's behind closed doors. What goes on there stays there, doesn't leave the room, and there's businesses of all sizes. But there's always a nugget I take away from those sessions each month, and they're quite remarkable, just literally talking to other business owners. And it can often be a lonely world out there when you've got your own little business, so it's quite nice to have that therapy session to go to. And lastly, it's JFDI, which I saw at another little company called Vend, and it's basically just do it. You don't need to think too much about things sometimes. So for us, we can have meetings and go round and round in circles, but actually it's just make a call, make a decision, and do it at the end of the day and see what happens. That's what we've done. Here we are now. So onwards and upwards for the next 10 years. Lots of learnings, lots of things we've taken on board, so really exciting times for us. That is our little story. Hopefully there's been some interesting tidbits there. I'll be around later on for some chats as well. Thanks very much.
Well, thanks, Reece. That was, I think that was a really good, honest view of the journey you've been through, so thank you. I'm sure we all got something out of it. I certainly liked your bit about being helpful, and it is very much something that's overlooked, and I really like the way you described that. The other thing was about responding quickly. And it's actually astonishing. I've been going around talking to a number of businesses recently and asking them about how long does it take when you get an email? How long does it take when you get a phone call for you to return the voicemail? How long does it take to return that so that web request or wherever it was coming in? How long does it take to reply to that complaint on Facebook? And it's astonishing, the response. I read some research recently that talks about, and this you may find this funny, but the research was talking about this window of time that was within 30 minutes. And most businesses I talk to are generally responding in half a day or a day sort of time frame. And this piece of research was actually talking about how likely it is you are to complete a sale if you wait more than 5 minutes to call your customer back. And it is astonishing. So you get 97% likelihood at 5 minutes to complete the sale, which drops all the way down to below 20% by 30 minutes. And I think there's some incredible lessons that we're spending a lot of money and time and energy and effort promoting our businesses. And that, I think that's very insightful there from you, Reece, in terms of responding quickly, because it translates to real effectiveness of your business. You can see why you're growing so quickly. Just continuing on, we've now, and thank you to Reece for giving the nice segue in that discussion then, to Paul Balkett. Paul's from Microsoft and he's the Cloud Business Manager. And he'll be talking to you today about cloud computing. So I think your introduction is probably better than mine's going to be. So Paul, come and take the stage, please.
Well, good afternoon, good evening. I honestly could not have picked a better speaker to go before me, right? No, seriously, I don't actually know Reece, and I'm going to shake your hand, get you a beer and everything later on. So Paul Balkett's my name. I look after our public cloud services for our really SMB market in New Zealand, which, as we've heard today, really is the majority of business and employment in New Zealand. And so what I wanted to sort of touch on today is just a little bit about some cloud trends that are happening. I mean, we see this word cloud everywhere, right? Most people would have used a cloud service in this room, without a doubt. You may not even know it, though. And so I want to talk a little bit about sort of how that can help you as a business owner or an employee in a small business, about how that can help you be more productive and help you run your business a little bit better. And it was quite interesting to hear Reece talk about, you know, these different cloud-based products that small business can use today. And, you know, the key thing about this stuff is that you guys can use the same technology, roughly, that the largest companies in the world use, right? So you've got Fonterra in New Zealand using something like SAP, right? Spends hundreds of millions of dollars on implementing that software. You can go and get something like Xero or MYOB or any of these other cloud-based accounting products and have essentially the same kind of core financial technology, financial management technology that they're using. And I want to show you some of that with our Office 365 service from Microsoft as well. Talk a little bit about how that can help you. So I've got a bit of a chart here. Microsoft, we're a big organisation. I'm not going to pretend to be a small business. I've kind of always worked in that larger sort of global business. One thing I would say though is we subscribe to a lot of research and we get a lot of data based on what people are doing in the market around technology. And I really like this one from Boston Consulting Group. It's mostly about US-based companies, but the same stuff rings true when we do sort of our local survey and analysis here as well. I won't go through all of the stats, but just a couple of ones over here on the right-hand side. Technologies such as cloud productivity and mobile solutions are helping SMB businesses succeed. And these are the stats when they were asked about how they're helping them succeed and what areas. SMBs, 40% of them are saying that creates greater efficiency and productivity. It creates a better ability for them to compete. They're more flexible. And this is the really good one down here. 47% of businesses in SMB said that cloud productivity and mobile solutions were critical to their company's future. And we've already noticed how many people use smartphones, right? The question was asked earlier. And I guarantee most of you probably almost couldn't do your job today if you didn't have email on your phone. And an analogy back to the responding quickly to customer queries, you know, how often now do you quickly fire an email off on your phone rather than having to wait to get back to the office? And that's just a great, very basic example where technology from cloud services has helped, kind of make us more efficient and quicker at responding. And so, yeah, just a couple of other quick points on here. 42% said that technology resulted in having greater customer relationships. So you remember the old adage, everyone used to talk about it, like it costs $7 or something to gain a new customer, or 7 times the amount of money to gain a new customer, versus keeping an existing one. And so how can you use technology to help you service your existing customers better? And so Microsoft, we built a product called Office 365. We launched it in around July 2011 now, thinking back. How many people in the room today are using Office 365? Fantastic, great. So thank you for being early customers of ours, if you've been using it for some years. We've been very lucky with the service. It's New Zealand has had the fastest adoption of Office 365 out of any country in the world that Microsoft operates in. And I've got a quick video just to give you a snapshot for those that haven't seen it before about what Office 365 is.
Office 365 is the office you know and love, on the devices you use most, whenever you need it, and virtually wherever you are. Beginning with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook, Office 365 provides all the familiar apps you've come to depend on, along with a dynamic set of cloud-connected tools that help you communicate, collaborate, and get more done. With the flexibility of the cloud, your files are never stuck on your computer at work or your laptop at home. Office 365 lets you share and sync documents virtually anywhere and anytime you're working. Stay nimble and stay in touch. See your team's calendars, know when they're online, send them an instant message, or even communicate face-to-face. Better than that, work on the same document together in real time. You've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and the rest of the Office family, all connected by cloud-driven features like co-authoring and video conferencing. Now combine that with automatic updates, a global network of expert support, and a 99.9% uptime guarantee. Then what you get is 365 24/7 possibilities. Get it done at office365.com.
So it's just a quick little snapshot of what Office 365 does. I'm going to go and explain some of the stuff in a bit more detail. But since we launched this video, we've also announced and made available versions of Office for the iPad, Android phones, Android tablets, and also your iPhone. And it's quite amazing to see the transformation of Microsoft, because I'm sure most of you in the room would be familiar with the fact that, probably some years ago, Apple would have been our fiercest competitor and we would never have built something for someone else's platform. But now we're doing that. We want to make sure we give our productivity tools to everybody, no matter what platform they're using. And so with Office 365, essentially what we're doing is we're giving you on the left-hand side here all of the desktop applications that you know and use today, hopefully, in Word and Excel and Outlook and things like that. We're giving you those tools to run on your desktop, but we're also giving you a cloud version of them. So you can access a Word version or a Word web app actually through a web browser and edit a document in real time online with other co-workers to increase collaboration, as an example. The other things we do is we give you file storage and sharing in the cloud. So we have a service that gives you unlimited storage online. So your files and your documents are available wherever you are, whenever you have access to a web browser. And the other piece of it is this thing we refer to as Link, which is HD video conferencing. So Link is kind of like Skype. It's basically an enterprise version of Skype for business that we give you the tools through that to communicate with your customers, with other people using Skype, or internally within your own company as well. And I'll show you a bit more about that in a moment. And then we kind of wrap it together with these sort of, financially backed SLA. You get free technical support with us for the service as well. And it's all at a very, very low cost. So just jumping in a little bit more, when you get Office 365, you get the license for Office itself to put on up to 5 computers. So for those people that have PCs at home today and PCs in the office or Macs, you can actually buy Office 365 and install on up to 5 copies the Office license. So for each individual user, you can put it up to 5 different computers. We also do all of the management for you. So no longer do you have to access, your server in the office. You don't have to worry about VPN connections or, making sure that you've got the latest patch deployed on your server, because Microsoft does the heavy lifting. We manage the servers for you. And what that means for you is you can focus on your mission, getting your job done, and letting the technology just work for you. And so just sort of taking a step further, looking at a little bit of an example of the Office applications here. This is Excel running on a PC. You've probably seen that before. We've got Office running on mobile devices here. We've got PowerPoint running on an iPad. And we've got an Office Online version here. And the key thing about all these, you can't tell the difference between any of them. If I author a document in Word and I send it to you and you open it on your PowerPoint on your iPad, then it'll look exactly how I authored it originally. And the same goes across all of the Microsoft Office solutions. And the other component of Office Online is the ability to do real-time collaboration. This is an example. It's probably a little bit hard to see here, but we've got multiple authors editing this document actually in real time. So someone's sitting on their iPad, maybe down at the beach just down here. Someone else is sitting in their office in Auckland. A supplier's sitting in their office in Germany, and you're all collaborating on that document product spec or that quotation or that spreadsheet for end of month financial close. Whatever you want to collaborate on, you can do it right through any of these kind of devices and through Office Online. And then we have over here just an example of using messaging with Link actually on a phone. And that gives you the ability to basically carry your phone around with you and join meetings, join conference calls, have instant message conversations with people, all within your company or externally to your company through Link and through Skype as well. So it's very, very powerful from that communication and collaboration perspective. And then the kind of final piece is this kind of conferencing. So if you think about, I'm standing here today in obviously in person, but I could also be delivering this session to you from my office in Auckland or somewhere else actually around the world. With Link, most of you would have done Skype video conference calls, right? So it's kind of the same experience, but you can deliver it to a one-to-many audience. So you would see my video on screen here, you'd see everything that I'm showing on my desktop, on my computer, and you'd hear my voice obviously as well. And so that's the power of Link. It allows you to collaborate remotely with people around the world. It allows you to do sales meetings, allows you to collaborate with customers as well, directly over the web. So very, very powerful technology. And then the final part of it is the cloud storage piece. I mentioned this before. How many people, you go to a meeting and you forgot that one file you needed, or you need to copy files onto a USB stick to give to a supplier, or you need to basically give access to your network, your laptop, so that someone else can access the company's documents. Right? And so with cloud file storage, essentially we take away all of those barriers and you put all of your documents online. They're accessible wherever you go, as long as you have a web connection. You can access them through your iPad, through a laptop, through a modern mobile app, or just straight through the browser. And we also synchronize these files offline. So when I was on the plane on the way down today, I was able to work on a presentation for another meeting I had today while I was on the plane, but that file is actually stored in the cloud. And so when I got back to the hotel, actually, I plugged in and that file then synchronized and updated my cloud version as well, gave it access to other people outside the company as well for them to pick up. So very, very powerful to be able to sort of break down those walls of the office. Office 365 is really not just about some of the technology. It's actually about saving money. So because of the economies of scale of delivering these cloud services to literally millions and millions of companies around the world, we have been able to bring down the price of Office 365 to start at around about $4 a user a month. And so if you think about a typical company, this one here is about 100 users, probably a little bit bigger than your typical New Zealand company, but you see the top right-hand graph here. The on-premise cost of the software would be up in the green line here, whereas the blue line is Office 365 expenditure. So you can see a substantial cost saving for Office 365, and you get an evergreen service which is always up to date with all of those benefits that I've talked about. Actually, the other thing I'd just like to call out, it was really interesting listening to Minnie talk about some of the accessibility stuff. And for those of you in the room that are a charity organisation, we actually provide Office 365 for free to eligible charity organisations. You can access that through the Office 365 website. You can make a request for that. And I'll also say if you do have employees in your business that do have a disability around eyesight, hearing, some other areas, Office 365 actually supports all of the standard accessibility requirements for things like JAWS, which is a blind reader application, which I'm sure many will know well. And so our Office service provides all of that capability as well. So it's a really good way to give your staff another benefit as well through the service. And so I just wanted to kind of round off with just doing a little bit about some customers. If you watch closely, this is a montage video. If you just watch closely, there is a New Zealand customer in here as well, so to give it some local flavour.
SkyZone's growing leaps and bounds. Office 365 will be the unified solution for all parks right from the get-go. We saved $8,800. Over the course of time, you layer on all these other technologies and all these different subscriptions that used to exist. You do the math, and with all parks, it's $200,000 a year. So over the course of 5 years, we're going to save $1 million.
We are so fortunate at Breathe to have an incredible staff of people and a really positive environment. When we first opened Breathe, I started off using my personal email, but as our business continued to grow, we needed something that could grow with us. Office 365 has had such a positive impact on our business. It's so professional, and it's so great to be able to communicate with our customers.
I set up M3 Marine with my laptop and my experience. Information and communicate that information is paramount to what we do. Without being able to communicate it to other parties, we'd be out of business. Office 365 has been fantastic. I've got access to everything I need wherever I am.
We knew that when we started the business that we wanted to scale it and share it with the world. We initially used Dropbox and Google Docs, and it worked for the time being. But if we're going to reach the next level of expansion, we needed to standardize and systemize how we support our stores. With the help of Office 365, we have that last missing piece of the puzzle that brings everything together.
What a fantastic idea it was having a jetpack to fly. The Martin jetpack is there. It is a commercial product that we can now take to the marketplace and actually be something useful for the world. Link is probably the most important component for me right now. I need to be able to talk in real time to my staff, wherever I am in the world. Office 365 means I don't have to worry anymore. Now we can fly the dream.
So of course that was Martin Jetpack, recently listed on the ASX Stock Exchange. I'd like to say we had some small part in that as their Office 365 customer. But they started off with only a small number of users, right, in the early days, and obviously they've grown substantially now. And I just wanted to call out that, you know, what we're showing mostly here today is our Office 365 service. What Reese was talking about with iTicket was running out of our cloud data center. And so we have a number of different varied products, but ultimately this service here is ideally suited for small businesses in New Zealand. And so we kind of think that essentially it's a no-brainer. We give you the key business tools that you need to kind of either get going or help build your business, or for a low cost. You can see there it's highly configurable. And you can kind of be more productive anywhere, right, and any device that you currently use today. And I'd encourage you, by the way, if you don't even want to go down the Office 365 path yet, just a good tip right today is if you have a smartphone or even a tablet, you can download for free the Office suite for those devices. It's free in the App Store on those devices, including Outlook. So Outlook's a separate download, but we've now developed our Outlook product for all of those platforms. So if you want a superior email experience on your iPhone or your Android, download the free Outlook and Office apps as well. And sort of just to get started, to wrap up, there's quite a few links on the slide here, but if you go to office365.com, you can sign up for a free trial anytime. We recommend that people do work with one of our certified partners. There's a number in the Hawke's Bay region. And I'll be around obviously afterwards to talk about that, but you can email me anytime. If you email nzcloud@microsoft.com, I'm on the end of that email address, and I'll respond to you straight away from my phone. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Moving on, we're on the homeward stretch, and we've saved a very fun session for you now. I'd like to introduce Steve Copard. Steve is about 20 years in IT sales, and he never would have thought that a little experiment with his building a hot dog cart for his son would end up with him leaving his job and forming the company that he's now started. I'll let you introduce it yourself there, Steve, but I think you'll really enjoy what he's got to say, and it will be a really inspiring for your own businesses to hear somebody at the start of their startup journey. Steve, come and join us.
Thank you, and hey, it's great to be in Napier. I've got very fond memories because my grandparents immigrated here from the UK and lived down in Green Meadows there and raised 3 kids. My uncle and auntie are still in Taradale, and I've got some really cool memories of being down here every single holidays. My parents had put me on a whaka friendship. These were NAC 40 years ago. I'm 47 now. And I still remember the turbulence like we had today. So it's good to be here. I formed a company just over 2 months ago called Rock Dogs. And what I'm about, I'm a mobile food business. I have a food truck, and this is my brand. And I'm very proud of this brand because we do the best gourmet hot dogs on the planet. And I wanted to share with you my story. David did kind of introduce there how it all came about. I did work for a very large multinational IT company, 440,000 people around the world, and I left that to start my own thing. I actually ended up very unhappy working for the multinational IT company. I ended up at the shrink, and I shared a story I'm going to share with you with my shrink, and he said, "Mate, why don't you change your life?" And I did, and I've never looked back, and I've really enjoyed the journey so far. So moving swiftly along, I'll walk you through the slides. There's only 8 words in my entire slide deck. Lots of pictures and fun photos, and I hope you enjoy the little journey I'm going to take you on. I'm going to give you some tips about 2 things that work for me very well in my business, 2 things you might consider to do in yours, and we'll get to that shortly. But the start of the story, the Rock Dog story, there's the first 4 words. I've only got 4 left. That's me as a young rock and roller, this is 25 years ago. Played in rock bands my whole life, love rock music. So, hot dogs, rock music, you might get an inkling as to where I'm going. There's my little dog down there. His name's Buddy. He's the company mascot. Where did this all start? 2 years ago at Christmas, my boy said to me, he said, Dad, I really want a part-time job over the summer holidays. I said, look, mate, you're 12, you're probably too young to go out into the workforce, but as part of your Christmas present, I'm going to build you a hot dog stand, and you and me are going to take it out there and we're going to rock it, and we'll make some money. So my background is selling and sales, and so what happened was, I saw this picture on Google, funnily enough, of a hot dog cart, and I ended up building one. My father's an engineer, and I'm a mad inventor ideas guy as well. So I built this 2-piece hot dog cart, which my daughter is modelling there. Fits snugly into the back of a station wagon. And it just so happened that one of my best friends, a guy called Bob Cobb, he lived opposite Eden Park in Auckland. And there was a thing coming up called the NRL Nines. You've heard of the NRL Nines? Huge rugby league tournament, 50,000 fans in the first year. So we took the little hot dog stand to my friend's house, and we got smashed over 2 afternoons. When I say smashed, we got really smashed. We had 4 boys on the stand, my boy and Bob's boys, all ranging in age from sort of 10 to 14 or 16. And over the course of 2 afternoons, these boys made over $3,000 in cash. $3,000. There's a picture of my boy on the far right holding his percentage of the loot. And after Bob and I deducted our management fees to pay for the fair few cases of beer, the boys were all very happy about this. And in fact, they all came on the stand on the first day with their heads down and not smiling, and there were no please and no thank yous. And through the course of that 2 afternoons, at the end of that 2 days, the guys were running up and down the streets. They were pulling customers to the stand, big beaming smiles, pleases, thank yous, top service. And we'd turn these 4 little guys into top sales guys. And they made the evening news. 6 o'clock news. They saw themselves on the 6 o'clock news. There's the camera crew there interviewing them. And it was a sensational 2 days. My best friend Bob, he said, mate, I've never seen you so happy as the 2 afternoons you spent with those boys on that hot dog stand. And he'd been seeing me fairly unhappy for about 3 years. So that was the start of the journey. Hadn't thought about the food truck yet. This was just the start of the journey, but man, it really got me thinking. Hands up if you've seen the show on TV called George Clark's Amazing Spaces. Okay, so quite a few of you have seen it. For those that hadn't seen it, it was basically a series about everyday people like you and me who would have some crazy idea like driving to Carmo in Northland and buying an old school bus for $6,000 and somehow converting it into a motorhome or amazing space. So a week after the hot dog event, that's what I did. I drove to Northland and I purchased this wonderful 1985 school bus for $6,000. And you'll see inside it was a bit of a blank canvas, as I called it. And again, I enlisted my kids, and I was paying them $10 an hour, and we were ripping up vinyl and laying floors and painting walls and starting to build out this bus as some sort of motorhome. And I don't have a lot of building experience, but we just went about it and took our time over 10 months and turned it into something quite amazing. This is the conversion of that bus. So 10 months later, everything you see here, except a couple of tricky electrical bits, I did myself with the help of my friends and my kids. And this bus is quite a technological masterpiece. We have solar power. I wanted to be able to take the bus anywhere and have full mains power. I wanted 250 litres of water. I wanted gas heating. I wanted all the mod cons, refrigeration, even GPS tracking. We've got mobile FPOS. We've got an onboard computer with 2,500 music songs. And I themed it with a very strong rock and roll theme, as you can see here. But I hadn't yet put the connection together about the food truck. But at about this time, when I'd had the conversation with my shrink, and he said, "Where are you at, Steve?" And I said, "Look, mate, this is not like meltdown number 3. This was the big meltdown number 1. I talked to him about what I loved doing in the weekend, which was working on this bus. I told him about the hot dog experience with my boy. And he said to me, he says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Gee, some days I just want to throw my job in with the multinational company and go sell hot dogs in a food truck." And he looked at me square in the face. He says, "Why don't you do it?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I will." And that was it. So, how did we get from the motorhome to the food truck? I went online. I found this fantastic book, Hot Dogs Saved My Life. A true story of a guy in the States who had a furniture business. In fact, I think he had 5 furniture shops, and the global financial crisis hit town, the building industry tanked, and he lost the lot. He had about 5 or 10 grand left to his name, and he went out and bought a hot dog cart, and within a year he'd made $100,000. He had multiple hot dog carts out there, and the hot dog saved his life. It was a true story. Started me thinking. So I started to research about how could I make those humble hot dogs something a bit different. So I bought this book, Horton Dogs, incredible recipes in this book. I teamed up with my friend in the top right there, a guy called Chris Cullen, who you may see his sauce products around the supermarkets called Cully's award-winning hot sauces. I teamed up with Auckland's best bakery, and I teamed up with the small goods manufacturer of really good frankfurters, and we went crazy and we tried all different recipes and came up with this photo in the middle here. These are the hot dogs I produce every day. This one here is a Mexican-inspired hot dog with jalapenos and Tijuana green chili sauce on mince with a hot dog and a cornmeal roll. It's incredible. It's the best thing you can buy for $7, but I had to say that. So what did we have to do then? We had to just put a sliding window on the bus, and I formed a company, and I thought we'll take this thing out on the road and see how we go. But before we could take it on the road, well, there's a few little compliance things to take care of. Yeah, a lot of words, that's a menu, doesn't count. Had to get the bus certified with VTNZ. That's a story in itself, but I won't hold you up because the only thing between, you and the beer is me finishing this presentation. But I had to get the vehicle complied. That was a bit of work. I had to get from Auckland Council what they call a food stall health certificate. That was no mean feat. No mean feat. That took about 6 weeks to come through. And then I prepared a menu, which you can see there. These are the hot dogs that we do every day, and we could then take it out on the road. I was at the Eagles this weekend. Anybody here go to the Eagles? Yes. Did you see my hot dog truck? You must have been on the other side of the stand. That's another story. So we took this bus out on the road. I took it to the Seafood Festival. I took it to the Waitangi Day Festival in Auckland. We've taken it to business. We've picked up fans along the way. We've got Jordan Luck here enjoying one of our hot dogs. We've got another famous musician, Ricky Harawira, up the top there. I've taken it around corporate business and what I call the working class man tour. So I actually go to big industrial areas that are not well served by lunch bars, and one day every week I will go to a different business and pull up, and we'll sell a lot of hot dogs. One of the corporate events that I've done many corporate events, but one down in the bottom right hand corner there was a staff and family beach day for a company called Plan B, where I fed their staff and family and friends hot dogs and rock and ice creams for the kids. That went very well, and I'll come back to that later when I talk about this the social media connection. But all in all, I tried it on my friends and family first. I got their feedback. I took it to festivals. I proved the business model and got the menu and the pricing right, and that was the start of the success. See the Incredible Hulk there. He was one of the NRL Nines fans. Quite a funny guy, actually. One side of him painted completely green, with the ripped shirt and the jandal with the green foot, and the other side completely business. Quite funny. Had to probably be there, but he was very funny. So I'm just going to touch on two things that work for me and probably cover off the social media aspects of it. It's been raised today, but one thing I would ask you all to do in your business is answer two questions, and that is, who is my ideal customer and what actually am I selling? So my ideal customer is not the person eating the hot dog. My ideal customer is the person that organises a festival or an event or a corporate gig. And there's quite an important distinction, because that is my ideal customer. So to put it in your context and to give you an example, if you were in the property maintenance services business or home cleaning, what is it that you're actually selling? You're actually probably selling more free time to busy people on the weekends that want to be with their kids rather than cleaning their toilets or mowing their lawns. You're selling that as opposed to getting a house cleaned or getting some lawns mowed. So if you think about who those people are that you're trying to target, what social media channels would be good, and can you locate those people? So for me, I know that if I connect with sales managers on LinkedIn, for example, and they're easy to look up, sales managers Auckland, events managers Auckland, I'll get a couple of hundred people I can potentially connect with, and then I can go to those people and I can have a conversation that's relevant. If it's a sales manager, I could put up a post that says something like, nothing rocks like the Rock Dogs bus pulling up at your place and me feeding your sales team and sharing with them how this all got to take place through social media so they can learn about social media as part of their sales strategy, and I'll give them a gourmet hot dog. So have a think about, what am I selling and who is my ideal target, and then whether you're going to use LinkedIn to target B2B people, that's what I do, or whether you want to use Facebook to target consumers, or Google or web or what other channel. That's a very important thing. So when I talked about that Plan B story, so I've got 1,800 people now in my network on LinkedIn, and I connect with people every day. Hands up who's on LinkedIn. Okay, so just about everybody. Hands up who has posted something on LinkedIn about their business in the last week. So not many hands. So this is really important. This is part of the one of the really important things I'd like to share with you. I post something good about my business at least once every 2 or 3 days on LinkedIn. And it could be, hey, I was in Napier and I really enjoyed meeting the Hawke's Bay business crowd, and I'll take a photo and I'll post it up there. Or it could be that, hey, that Plan B event with the family and friends worked really well, and hey, guess what happened? You'll see in the middle here I've now got a LinkedIn message from somebody else in IT who's looking for a quote for me to do the same thing for their business. And a day after I posted that Plan B good news story, I had 3 inquiries for bookings and events. And I can directly correlate that back to the good news post that I did the day or 2 before. So I guess if you've got a good news story and a great product and a great business and you've got great customers that are happy about what you're doing for them, then share the story. Get it out there. It's like having the world's biggest radio station saying, put your free ad on here, and you're not putting the free ad on there, So that's one piece of advice that really works well for me. The second piece of advice is a bit more of a personal one. I'm a Gemini by nature, and I'm a very giving and kind of generous person. Even when I can at least afford it, I seem to give away and give stuff and give my time, and it's just me. But giving in business has really worked well for me. I just want to share with you a couple of examples. The mere fact that I'm here today is because I gave. And it had nothing really to do with this event. I was at a friend's house sampling his home brew. He had a friend there called Simon McManus, who I met, who happened to be a PR genius. And I gave Simon a few books I had on brewing. This has nothing to do with Rock Dog, nothing to do with being here. But months later, he came to me and he said, hey, Steve, I know Caitlin Sykes at the Herald, and she's posting an article in the Herald about food trucks. I'd like to hook you 2 guys up to thank you for the help with the brewing, which he did. And surely enough, we ended up in the paper. Garda read my article, and she said, hey, do you want to come on this amazing biz tour? And that's how I'm here today. It started with me giving something to somebody completely unrelated and not expecting anything in return. And I've actually continued that giving process with my business. So I gave away some free hot dogs to some iwi members down at Iraqi in Auckland. They invited me to the Waitangi Day Festival. I didn't expect that in return, but that's what they did. And I got in front of 30,000 people that day, and I sold $2,000 worth of hot dogs. I got invited by New Zealand Rugby League to attend Luke Tipponet's Memorial Day. Luke was he was quite a very up-and-coming rugby league player out in Glenora club, and went into town one night to pick up his mates from a party. He was a non-drinker, non-smoker, went into town, did the good thing to pick up his friends who were both drunk, ended up getting in a brawl, and a guy stabbed him in the neck, and he died. And so they had a Memorial Day for Luke. I turned up and I gave my proceeds to Luke's family. I did it to support this charity and this cause, and from that I've now linked up with Wayne Scarr at the Warriors, and if I ever want to park at Mount Smart for any reason, the Warriors game, or to sell my hot dogs out there, I already have a spot at the New Zealand Rugby League car park there. I asked for that in return, and they said sure thing. So I give away children's guitars once a month. I'm giving away tickets to Motley Crue. I spend $100 a month giving away, and in return people share my giveaway story on social networks. I end up getting a lot more fans, and I know that by continuing to give, I will receive more in return, and it generally happens that way. I turn up at corporate businesses. I give away 50 hot dogs. I then get a client that wants me back every week, and the lifetime value of that client for me doing hot dog lunches for their staff once a week is worth thousands to me. But I give away $100 worth of hot dogs. I was at the City Mission last week. I gave away 75 hot dogs to homeless people. I did that because I was coming on the road and I didn't want fresh buns to go to waste, so I gave them to people that needed them more, and it's just something I do. So have a think about giving as a tactic with your business, because I guarantee for what you give, you'll actually get a lot back more in return if you do it with the right heart and reasons. So that's my little story, my little inspiring startup story. Where am I going? Where am I taking it? The bus is working very well. We're at the Eagles on the weekend. We got smashed, sold out before the show, after the show. I'll continue to do those events with the bus as the iconic vehicle. I'm taking my business in a franchise model now, so the little portable stand you saw at the start, we're going to start manufacturing those. I want to get people who want a self-employment option into running a hot dog cart, if that's what they want to do to make some money for themselves. And thinking globally, I might just, in another 12 months, I might just write a little ebook on this whole experience, and I might just put it online, and I'm going to call it Balls of Rock. And it's going to be the story of a guy who left a multinational IT company to start up a hot dog business, and how it went for him, and how you could change your life as well. That's just another lateral think. I like to finish these talks with a big thank you. My friend down the back is actually filming today. I want to put this little Napier trip on my journey, and you'll see this on my LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me, I'm Steve Coppard on LinkedIn. My details are in your pack. You can search for Rock Dogs on Facebook. You'll see all my funny videos, all the antics that go on the road when we go around selling these hot dogs. And for the benefits of the video, I'd like you to all, on the count of 3, do the Rock Dogs salute, which is that one, and yell as loud as you can on the count of 3, rock on. 1, 2, 3, rock on! Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Once again, very inspiring. It's amazing where ideas start and where they can take you on a journey. So what an amazing journey you've already undertaken. I find it very interesting that you're taking a risk and jumping into hot dogs had a plan. And it's that plan that's no doubt going to serve you very well. I think the other aspect that I really like out of what you said is knowing who your customer is. You're very clear about who your customer is and what you're trying to achieve with them. And lastly, I think something we shouldn't miss is the power of giving. Provides some pretty incredible opportunities for our businesses, and it's something we don't think about very often. It's usually just thought of as that great tax write-down, but I think there's something much more in it. Hey, we've come to the end of this session today, and we really want to thank you all for listening through the speakers, and I'd like you to just take the opportunity to thank all of our speakers. So if we can do a round of applause, please. We're running just a little bit over, as sometimes happens, so we're going to go with it, and instead of actually getting everybody up here to do Q&A, I thought what we'll do is we've got some wine, cheese, beer, wine, whatever. So you'll see the speakers come around. Please jump up, engage, chat, introduce yourselves, ask them the tricky questions. I'm absolutely certain they're all there ready to help you. So please, thanks for all attending. Thanks for taking the time out to come and spend this with us. And please network, get to know people in the room, and go well. Thanks very much.